Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Insights from the Couch. We are doing today a special holiday episode, a holiday survival guide of sorts. It's going to be just Colette and I talking about what we know is big hot button issues for people at the holidays.
Yeah, and how to get through, it's when you're a kid, it's so much fun. When you're an adult, it's not always.
So much work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Hopefully it's fun too. But how can we also incorporate self-care, handle boundaries, navigate difficult family situations, and challenge expectations so that the holidays are as smooth and enjoyable as possible for you? So let's dive in.
When did you that just to speak to that, like, when did you realize, like, you were Santa? Like, and
Oh,
you were, like, the magic for the whole season?
when I got divorced with a 2-year-old and 4-year-old and had no money or help. Yeah,
Then it really hit you.
and it wasn't so much fun suddenly anymore. I have to tell you, I know he's politically incorrect now for some people, but Louis CK, this comedian who got canceled due to his sexually predatory behavior, shall we say, he used to have a show that was so great called, like, I think Louis CK or Louis. Anyway, long, long, long time ago. And he had this episode that anyone who's been through divorce would relate to so much, and probably even parents who aren't divorced. It was the finale. It's Christmas. He's this divorced dad. He's got 2 little girls, and they've come over to him for Christmas. So he runs around killing himself to make the holiday perfect. He bought one kid this doll. The doll's eye pops out, or it's like stuck in the wrong place. It's stuck in the wrong place. He tries to, like, adjust it, then the eye pops out, it, like, falls in the toilet. He's up all night wrapping, trying to fix the doll. The kids wake up, they open the presents in 4.2 seconds. The things are flung aside, and then mom comes to pick them up, and they're off to mom's house. And it's like 24 hours of just stress and
Yeah.
agony and desperate desire to please. And then you see him slumped in his underwear, like, what just happened? Was any of it worth it? And he, like, throws the Christmas tree out the window. So I remember watching that episode and I was like, oh my God, yes, someone feels my pain. And even if you're not divorced, it's a
Yeah.
very demanding time for parents.
I mean, yeah, I remember, like, just Joe and I building, like, the boys, like, parking garages at midnight in our bedroom, like,
Yep.
fighting with each other, like, "How
Yep.
the hell do you make this thing work?" And it was so stressful putting that stuff together. I'm so glad I'm done with that phase.
Hell yes. I remember having my parents come down from New York and being in my garage and having them help me wrap. And we'd, like, run out there and the garage was 1,000 degrees, Florida, even in December. And I'm trying to, like, stay up and wrap. And it's just, there's so many expectations. So even if you don't have kids or you have older kids, rare is the person that doesn't experience some stress. And if you're alone during the holidays,
Yeah,
this
it's
is a
tough.
time that, like, everything painful tends to, like, bubble up and really sit with you.
Good point, yeah. It's such, like, a time of couples and togetherness and
Yep.
families, and if you are alone right now, it just feels so exacerbated.
Yeah, what if you're estranged from a family member? What if you don't have plans for the holidays? I have told this story many times, but I had a Christmas where my kids were with their dad. I don't remember why. I had a new job. I couldn't go home. I was by myself, completely alone on
What
Christmas
was that
Eve.
like, how'd you get through that?
Well, I thought it was gonna be awful, but I decided to, and I was feeling a little sorry for myself, and then I decided to, like, embrace it and change my mindset, and I bought, this was in maybe 2006 or 7. I bought the Hunger Games trilogy. I had never read that kind of book, and I baked really gooey Duncan Hines brownies,
I love
and I
this.
sat and, like, I tried to build a fireplace in my, tried to build a fire at my fireplace, not a fireplace,
You
and I
smoked
couldn't.
yourself out.
Yes, I couldn't do it, so I gave up on that, but I ate brownies and I read, like, all 3 books. I sat there for 12 hours in my
Hmm.
PJs, and actually, it was great, and it was a time I realized I'm gonna be okay, but I do think that not everybody or every holiday you can just have that shift. I think it can be a lonely time. So, what advice would you give to a client or a friend who's going into the holidays alone?
I mean, I think that what your story highlights is, like, do something for yourself that you love, like, take care of
Mhm.
yourself somehow, some way. Make it palatable, make it comforting. Go see a movie, read a book, bake
Yeah.
yourself some beautiful food, like, care for yourself radically. I mean,
Yeah.
what else is there to do? Or call a friend, like, if there's a
Yeah.
friend you can connect with or, I mean, anything.
Yeah, I know for me, I had people that I probably could have gone to, but I didn't want to. I felt like it would make me feel sadder to go hang out with like a friend and their family. Like I think there were people who invited me and I was grateful, but I didn't want to do that because there was loss about what the holidays had been for me. So I agree with you. Find some way to create a beautiful experience for yourself. And what's beautiful for you may not be gooey brownies and the Hunger Games trilogy, but that did it for me. I mean, I had no money. I couldn't
Yeah.
go on a trip or anything, but I ended up feeling like I took care of myself and having a good day.
And
So
that's the other thing about the season too, like you're saying, having no money, like, you look around and if you're struggling financially during this time, it's very hard to feel excited about any of it. And there's so
totally.
many, talk about expectations. I was just listening to a client talking about how she's got to get money ready for the garbage guy and the pool guy and like the teacher's gifts. I mean, there's so many it can get as big as you want it to get in terms of thanking people.
I agree. And let me just tell you right now, like, can we agree on air that we're not doing gifts for each
Well, that's
other?
my favorite thing about our
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually have opted out pretty much of everything.
Me too.
I
Me too.
stopped doing Christmas cards, and
Me too.
I do feel a little bit of, like, sadness or, like, "Oh, maybe I should still be doing that," when I see, like, my friends who still get, like, all the family photo
Yeah.
cards, and I'm like,
I
"Nobody
don't.
sends those to me anymore because I stopped years ago."
Yeah.
But I just can't do that stuff.
Me neither.
I
I
just
stopped the
can't.
Christmas cards a long time ago. I don't miss it at all. And to me, the closest relationships are the ones that, like, I can say, I'm not buying you a gift. Don't buy me a gift. And other than, like, even my husband and I, we're not doing gifts. We're doing a trip in the spring, and so and
Yeah,
what do I want? I hate stuff anyway.
I
It's like
know.
conspicuous consumption. I don't give a shit about gifts. So, no
Same.
gifts, and I don't feel like I have any money really to spend right now on, like, lavish things. I'll get something for my parents, I'll get something for my niece, and something for my kids, and
That's it. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat.
yeah, everybody else, it will be an experience.
Yeah, I agree. I think err on the side of seeing people and I just give people permission to opt out.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think it's hard for people, especially when you have friends that do elaborate things and depending on what circles you travel in,
Right.
they can be
Right.
elaborate.
Yeah, they can. I think I've let go of all of that. So let's talk about that a little. Let's talk about letting go of expectations so that the holidays work for you, not what they should be. Let's talk a little bit about dealing with difficult family situations and, sometimes having boundaries, how helpful that can be. Because I think this is what it's about. The holiday should be, as much as possible, a holiday that like works for you and your life,
Yeah.
not some idea of what a holiday should be. So
That
can
that
yeah,
yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. I have
No,
so
no.
much on this. This is my big rock at the holidays. But go
Well,
ahead.
no, tell me what you're thinking. I want to hear what you're
Well, I
thinking.
mean, this is my constant struggle, and especially, my mom and her husband come down, and they live in Pennsylvania, and they drive down with the dog. This is their big trip, right? And so she's done this, and she used to live here, but she's done this routine for years now, and there's a romanticized version in her head. So,
Yep.
and every time I talk to her about it, she's like, "Oh, we're gonna come down. It's gonna be great." I mean, they stay for like sometimes they'll stay for 2.5 weeks, which just it never works. I'm just gonna tell you, it never goes well. Like
Of
there's always a
course. That's a
thing.
lot.
It's just too much, right? But in her mind, this is the highlight reel of the year. We're gonna do
Mhm.
all these things. It's gonna be so great. And now I'm old enough to realize, like, your expectations are never gonna be met, and it never is that great. And and yet it's very hard to have a conversation around, "Hey, look, I don't think the 2-week thing works very well,"
Mhm.
because there's such an expectation of these are our best times of the year, and we gotta make it work.
But if the 2 weeks doesn't work for you, is it hard then for you to say, like, you feel like you're disappointing them if you say, "Hey, 2 weeks is a little long in the tooth?"
Yeah, it's a tremendous amount of disappointment and pushback, and every year it gets to a point where she says something along the lines of, like, "I think we're gonna leave early," and then she's upset that I'm not more upset that they're leaving, and she's
Ugh.
like, "Don't you want me here?" And so we go through that rigmarole every year. I think this year she says she was gonna go visit some friends in, like, Naples and Sarasota. I don't know as though that will happen, but
Wow, why aren't you more upset that I'm leaving? Sounds like you
yeah.
need therapy, Laura. No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, I'm so used to it, and this is
I'm
really, like, the
kidding, I'm
big
kidding.
visit that we
Yeah.
have every year, so, when you have aging parents,
Yeah,
the statistic, it's like
it's
you
hard.
are gonna see them how many more times?
I know,
So
I
you
know.
try to treasure these things, but you
Yep.
have to be real, and I think my husband said it best when we had a visit. He said, "Look, we don't need to do any visits over 100 hours. Once that 100-hour limit hits, like, we're tapped out."
Sadly, I had to take a moment to calculate how many
What is
days
that,
that
like
would be. It's
4
about 4.
days?
Yeah,
About 4
yeah,
days.
yeah. 24 hours is almost a quarter. Yeah, I got there. So, yeah, 4 days. No, I hear you, and I think that sometimes I even fall into the, like, "Oh, this is gonna be so great." Last year, I took my kids to New York, and "Oh, I'm gonna see my whole family, and we're gonna have, like, New York City because that's where I grew up. So for me, that's going home. It's not like a trip to New York, but for my kids, even though they've grown up going there, it's still like a trip to New York, and they wanna go to, like, the touristy areas and shop, and what I quickly realized, we got stuck in a really scary protest where I actually almost had a panic attack and thought,
Wow.
yeah, it was really, really scary. And, I'm just hemorrhaging money and working a commission only job as a therapist and being out of the office and then hemorrhaging money is
Ugh.
stressful. So here I am. I've spent like God knows what on these tickets, and then we're staying in my mom's house. And while we love being together, there's also 4 women with strong personalities under one roof who all like things to go their way and are very vocal. So there's like bickering, and my mom lives alone, and my kids are like, "Fuck you, I hate you. Let's go have lunch. I want pizza." Right? It's like my poor
Ugh.
mom's like, "Oh my God, shut up." So and then I'm sitting there going, "Why did I spend every available dollar I had on this fucking holiday that sucks ass and is bankrupting me? Why
I've
am I
had
even
trips
here?"
like that too.
Yeah,
I've had
like,
trips
why
like
am I
that.
here? So all of this is to say, and I do wanna introduce for people who are divorced or remarried also, that there's a whole 'nother layer of complication with these holidays that really goes to expectations, which is that you may not have your kids for the holidays. That can be hard. You have to share them with possibly another family, in addition to complexities with in-laws. Many of my clients have spouses who don't get along with their in-laws. They don't even want to be around them.
Yeah.
You can start adding a lot of people and a lot of different people's expectations into the mix. So I know it's easier said than done, but I think the first thing is really trying to actively shed the expectations of others. And remember, you can't make everyone happy, and it isn't your job to.
Yes, that's true, and that's one of the ways I cope with having people around is I tell myself I'm not changing my schedule radically. Like, I work out when I always work out.
Yep.
I go to bed when I go to bed. Because I am a recovering or in the middle of becoming a recovering people pleaser. I tend to have an accommodating energy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've really stopped doing is when I have somebody in my house, I do not change how I operate. I don't
Yeah.
sit out on the sofa till, like, m midnight to chat with people, like, I just know. I'm going to bed when I'm going to bed, I'm doing my workout. I'm, like, one of these weird people that does puzzles over the holidays, and, like, pe everybody gets annoyed by it, but I don't care. I'm gonna do my puzzle. Like, come talk
Yeah.
to me in the puzzle room if you want.
Yeah, I think
You
that's
know,
an important thing to maintain your routine and
your
your
own rhythm.
self-care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, if you've got somebody who wants you to come to Pennsylvania, New York for the holidays because it's their idea, a mother-in-law of what the holidays should be, and it really doesn't work for you and your family, it really is okay to say no. In fact, to
Yeah.
everyone and anyone. I'm so deeply steeped in recovery from people pleasing that nobody even believes I used to be a people pleaser anymore because I'm now kind of in like zero fucks land with it. I feel like people pleasing destroyed my own well being.
Yeah. For
And as
sure.
it often does, I ended up resenting other people for choices I made that I didn't see I was making. I felt like I had no choice, but it was because I couldn't tolerate the discomfort of disapproval or disappointment. And the only way to get there is to generate some disapproval and disappointment and ride through it, surf
Yeah.
the wave of that, and you land on shore and then you realize you can.
And you start that process early and often. Like, I think that the longer you go in your life, not being because I went pretty long being the accommodating force in my family. And the one Christmas, my mom looked at me and said, like, you used to be so much nicer. What happened to you? Which, was really me just setting boundaries. But the people who set boundaries early and often, when they have a young family and they say, "Well, we're not traveling. We're staying in our own house for Christmas," or,
Right.
"We'll see you at another time during the year." Those are the people who do far better.
Yep.
It's because you are gonna have to disappoint people and really, you
Yeah.
know, people are gonna go through a period of saying, "What happened to you?"
Well, especially if you were not that way from the beginning, but it's
Yes.
never too late to start boundaries. And I
Never too
do
late.
think you can train people how to deal with you. Eventually, if guilt doesn't work, if you don't cave to guilt, people stop doing it because it goes nowhere.
No one can play to an empty house.
Right. And I think the one thing that's really served me that may be helpful for some people is that the idea, especially as a divorced person, I had to realize early on in getting divorced again when my kids were really little. My family's in New York. I don't have any family here. Now I have my dad here, but I didn't until a couple of years ago. So we decided, since my ex husband has his family in Hawaii half the time, that we would rotate Christmases. So it wouldn't be like Christmas afternoon, the other parent saw the kids. Because that way, if it was my year, I could go to New York. If it was his year, he could go to Hawaii. And so as a result, it started this trend of I'm going to have Christmas 2 days before or the weekend before. And what I quickly realized, instead of being all upset, it's the 25th and my kids aren't here. Christmas became the day that I was with my kids. And maybe I took them to New York the weekend before, or maybe I told my parents, I can't do it this year. You guys come here. But whatever day I made Christmas was Christmas. And so it
Oh, yeah, that's
began,
great.
yeah, and it began this openness to flexibility that has served me really well. And my parents got divorced when I was in college, and I just did an interview about this. One of the things they did so well that they taught me was never putting guilt on me or pressure to do what they wanted me to do for the holidays. And this is so important because I believe you are a parent for life. When your children are adults, when they're in college, it is your job to make things easier for them as a parent, not to put your own disappointment, your own expectations on your children. Because if you have a split family, like you're divorced, and this year and your kids are all at college, like my kids are at college, I don't get to see them unless they come home. If I start saying like, "Oh my god, am I gonna see you for Christmas? Are you gonna spend Christmas with me? What are you doing for Thanksgiving?" Right? I am putting so much pressure on these 2 young women who did not choose for us to get divorced, right? Who are thrust into this
Yeah.
situation. It's just not fair to them. Would I like them to be with me? Yes, but instead I take the approach I learned from my parents. You do what you wanna do and I'll make a holiday with you, or we'll make some fun ritual. We'll do something to celebrate together. And it doesn't matter what it looks like or what day it is. The point is to be together at some point.
I love that frame. I mean, that's such a gift your parents gave you.
Yep.
I don't think everyone's I think guilt is the operating mechanism in many
It
families,
is.
and the need to
And it's
have your
shitty.
children with you and that primal need is very powerful for some people, and they will use guilt as a tool. I love what Kelly Corrigan always says about her perspective towards her children. She says, "You know, my" 'cause she has 2 girls that are college age, and she said, "They don't owe me anything." You know, they're running their own lives now, and she always says, "I can't get enough," meaning I'll always wanna spend time with you guys, but I don't need a thing. And that's her line, you know, "Can't get
Well,
enough,
that's
don't need a thing."
exactly what I'm describing.
But
I mean,
that's a
it's
gift. Not
yes,
everybody gets it.
okay, but that I saw my parents do that, but every person can make a choice to do that.
Right,
You don't have to have learned that from your family. I mean, don't think that I'm not gonna be sad or that I don't wish. I mean, my kids, I just found out the other day, I didn't even know what they were doing for Thanksgiving. And I finally said, "Are you guys gonna be here?" "Oh no, we're going to Vero Beach with dad and like their dad's whole side of the family." I'm so happy for them because 'cause that'll be so fun, and I wish they would be with me. Like, I'm
right,
not so evolved that I don't give a shit. It is sad for me, but it's a choice I make as a parent to accept that and embrace, and I don't go, "Oh, well, will I see you at all?" They're not even coming home for Thanksgiving. They're gonna go to Vero and back to college, so I will not see them. But you know
right,
what? That's okay. They're 21 and they're 23, and the last thing any human being needs is like, "Oh, but what about me? I'll be alone." Tough shit. Like, that's not their problem. That's my problem to fill my life with something fun and to take care of myself. It's not my kid's job to make the holiday good for me.
right. And it's amazing, like, all the older women out there, you can give that gift to your children even if it is hard. Like, that's a gift you can give, but what about the families where no one's gonna give you that? You're just gonna have to extract yourself from that dynamic.
Yeah, that's when all you can do are the boundaries. Because if you're divorced, it's one thing. I mean, when kids are young, they split the holiday most of the time. It's already like established. But when kids get older, college and beyond, it becomes, kind of a loose construct. And your children are eventually going to potentially get married or have life partners and have even more people they have to share the holiday with. And I hear all the time from clients, "Oh, our parents don't understand, or we're going to be celebrating with this one and the mother of the other family is manipulating or going like, "Oh, well, so and so's coming for the holidays this year and you're not going to be here." I mean, this could be her last year alive.
Oh, I hear this too. I hear this
Yeah,
too.
and I'm not saying it's not hard. I am saying that you still have to dig deep and decide what's right for you and stick with it.
Yeah.
And some people make it easier.
Yeah, some people do, and gosh, that's a gift. That's a gift I want this holiday.
Yeah.
But what about other issues during this season? I mean, what
Politics.
politics with family members? Oh, I forgot about that.
Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. I mean, look, the holidays bring a lot of opportunities to develop your own emotional maturity. If you feel uncomfortable telling someone, "I don't want to talk about that," this is the time to learn. And I think it can be said really nicely, where you can say, "Look, I don't think we see eye to eye, and I totally respect your opinion, even if you don't. I respect your opinion. I don't want this to come between us. Let's just talk about something else. Or, it's Christmas Day. Like, let's not get into all that. Or you can even make it like it just stresses you out and you want to focus on something fun for the holidays, but nip it in the bud because those conversations can go south really fast when, like, Uncle Larry suddenly decides to start inserting his opinion about what women should do with their bodies and how, abortion should
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
illegal. And like you're on fire before you know it.
Well, there is a brand of person too that finds inciting these conversations like fantastic and they love the conflict and they love to like goad
Totally. My
you.
family's full of them.
Yeah, like if they get any sense that they can, that there's a distance between you, they're gonna keep picking at the scab. So
Yeah.
you're right. Like, don't engage. Don't try to defend. If you're starting to defend your point of view, you're gone. You're lost. It's that
Yes.
boundary that's like right there. That's like, hey, I don't want to do this.
And I think for people who are like that, where debating or goading you is a sport and they enjoy
Yes.
the act of it, I would even say that and again, I'm not saying this is easy, but there's always a first time to flex these muscles, to set it in advance. Hey, I'm so excited for the holiday. I know how much you love these conversations. I just want to like say in advance, I don't want to get into anything. I do this with my own family. My dad likes to talk about politics constantly, and I happen to agree with a lot of his perspective, but it's like exhausting.
Yeah.
All the
Takes up
things that are
oxygen in the
yeah, all the
room.
things that are wrong with the world that we can't control and how fucked up this and that is. It's like sometimes I just want to think about lighthearted things. I'm a therapist. I'm listening to heavy shit all
Yeah.
day. So
Yep.
I'll say to my dad, I don't want to hear the news in the background. I don't want to hear about how this and that article right now. Like I just want like a light moment. And then there are other times I'll talk about it, but tell people in advance, I don't want to go there this day.
Yeah, and hopefully that's respected, right? Or you can always walk away. You have that choice too.
Exactly. If it's not respected, like, you're the only person who can hold your boundaries. You can't really expect somebody else to respect your boundaries. It's nice when they do, but you're the one who holds your boundary.
Yeah. So speaking of which we're like just teed up a whole other topic for me. This is a season of like a lot of drinking, a lot of overeating, like food is being presented to you left, right, and center. How do you take care of yourself and sort of stay in within integrity with yourself on how you take care of yourself during these times?
It's a great question. I fuck this up almost every year.
Yeah,
So
so do I.
I mean, I always set out like the little like go-getter in me always loves the idea of like this holiday season. I'm not going to wait for January.
The
I'm going to
winter
be
arc. Have you heard of that?
yes.
I'm gonna do the winter arc.
I'm going to be like on some kind of health kick in November. I'm not going to gain weight. I'm going to actually get more toned. I'm not going to drink. I love that idea
Yeah.
of, like, being sort of above and ahead of the holiday gluttony,
Yes.
and then inevitably, I usually cave. Now, this year, I have an assist from my diet shots because I'm taking Zepbound, so that will help me not overindulge, but I do think it's important to have some kind of, like, routine and self-care that you adhere to so that you keep your sanity and you don't roll into the new year feeling because January is depressing.
Ugh, I hate January.
Everyone does.
And it's so funny, you go from, like, everything in the grocery store is like a sprinkled cookie and, like, a gorgeous confection, and then in January, it's like bone broth and
Yes.
it's,
Yes.
like, austere, and it's like, ugh.
Right. Everyone's like dry January. Everyone's broke. There's nothing to look forward to. The only holiday is Martin Luther King, which doesn't come with vacations or gifts.
Valentine's Day is, like, somewhat on the horizon, but
And
that's
who
not
gives a
enough.
fuck about that? Commercial holiday, commercial holiday.
Another one.
Yeah, and it's like winter. I mean, we live in Florida where it's still sunny, and I even feel a little depressed in January. It's like back to like the grind.
I agree, I agree. But yeah, that's how I do it. I mean, I'm famous for folding in October around like candy corn. Like
Ugh,
once I introduce candy corn into my house, I'm gone. Like that means I'm going down like the
the
Halloween
rabbit hole.
candy rabbit hole and then I'm going to be into the cookies. I have not done the candy corn this year. I'm holding a good baseline. So, like,
Mhm.
that's my expectation for myself. You know,
Yep.
do show up for my workouts, keep my baseline,
Yeah.
and it's not that I won't participate in certain things, but
Yeah.
I don't wanna go down the rabbit hole. Too many
I don't
trips down
either.
that.
I
Yeah.
don't either. I really, I think you and I both have talked about this. I'm thinking about going off alcohol completely altogether
Mhm.
again anyway. But because I have a trip to Italy in less than 6 months, I don't want to go off till after that. But I'm really committed to minimizing the alcohol,
Minimal. Minimal
minimal, just
alcohol.
because we just went to that conference where we learned yet again what we already know, which is that it's so bad for you, and it also can lead to, I eat more even on diet shots than most people eat not on diet shots. So drinking for me can lead to overeating. And once I get a taste of something I really like, it can be a slippery slope. I think what I want to avoid is not that you should never indulge. I mean, we don't want to say like good, bad, and be in that black and white kind
No.
of thinking. And food is joyous and connecting and fun also. But I think what I don't like about the holidays that I've had some years, and I haven't some other years, is a feeling of being out of control. That I'm just sort of like, I've let everything go, and I'm just sort of careening through the days, snacking all day on crap,
Well, it's like fuck
drinking.
it mode, right? It's like in for a penny, in for a pound. It's like, oh, I'll deal with this in January." And then you really won't, you know? Or you kinda will.
Right. Or you hit January and it feels big and you feel down and defeated. And it's not just about weight, it really is about self care. So this year, what I'm going to do, because I'm on a big push to try to build muscle just
Yep.
because I'm in like the waning stage of perimenopause. And I know that's really important for my health. So I'm going to focus a lot on weight training and also getting outside to walk because it's so good for my mindset, and I feel like we can make the mistake of trying to put too many parameters in place. I'm gonna focus on those 2 things and
That's
just being
perfect.
yeah, being really minimal with alcohol.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've got, you know, like a bare bones structure. I'm taking supplements. I'd like to get 7 out of 7 days on supplements. I'd like to get my 3 weight training workouts in a week. I like to get my 3 to 4 walks and runs in, and, like, the minimal alcohol, and if I just kinda keep to that skeleton,
Yep.
I feel like it's not so bad.
I agree. So let's recap some of what we're suggesting for people as we wrap up here, because we're going to be popping back on throughout the holidays with mini-sodes for you guys. So we
Yep,
can report how well we're doing or not doing with what we're claiming we're going to do. But self-care is really important always, but self-care is figuring out what kind of routine, not putting too much into it, but what kind of routine will it be important to maintain during the holidays so that you're feeling your best? And of course, part of self-care is boundaries.
boundaries, and then setting expectations not only with other people, but with yourself. I mean, this is even we didn't talk about it, but, like, I can get or historically having 3 kids, I can get really wacky about gift giving, where I'm like, "Oh, I don't have enough for this one," and then I'm just spending more money and, like, trying to even out the gifts, like, set your own expectations for how much money you're gonna spend, how much you're gonna really participate in all of this.
Yep.
So you don't find yourself getting pulled along.
Right. And don't give in to the guilt leveraging attempts of others. Even if it's really hard and uncomfortable, decide what you're willing to do and not do for the holidays, because people our age, especially women, we can all feel tugged between children, parents, in-laws, so many people who have their own ideas of the holidays, and your idea of the holidays is the thing that matters the most.
Yeah. It's a hard one for people.
Yes,
But
it is, but it's worth doing even though it's uncomfortable.
and give the gift to your children of not putting guilt on them, especially if you're from a divorced family,
Yep.
and they are torn between family systems. But, let your kids be autonomous and
Right.
don't put your needs at the fore.
Right. That's the biggest gift you can give anyone, is to let go of your own expectations and not impose them on others. So we'll be back next week with a special mini-sode for you guys, where we'll be checking in, and we'll be doing that throughout December. So thank you for listening, and please don't forget to share this episode with your friends. Leave us a review so you can help us spread the word about Insights from the Couch. And we hope you enjoyed our Insights from the Couch today.
Have a great holiday.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye, guys.